Grief can feel like a wave crashing over you, unexpected and powerful. It shows up in different ways, sometimes in sadness, sometimes in anger, sometimes in confusion, guilt, or even numbness. There's no right way it feels, but it can just feel any way. And when it comes, you may not have control over it. So common symptoms when grief comes that you're going to feel like this, unexpectedly you can start crying. That has happened to me. Hi everyone, you're welcome today, and today we're going to be talking about understanding grief, and we're going to deal with the different stages of grief, because I know most of us may have heard the different stages of grief, but we do not understand it. So welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time, you are welcome. So let's dive straight into what you're going to be learning today. You're going to be learning what? Understanding grief. And in this course of understanding grief, you will learn the implications and the stages of grief. Remember, we have 5 stages of grief. You're going to learn about them today. So let's dive straight without wasting your time. Understanding grief. Grief can feel like a wave crashing over you, unexpected and powerful. It shows up in different ways, sometimes in sadness, sometimes in anger, sometimes in confusion, guilt, or even numbness. There's no right way it feels, but it can just feel any way. And when it comes, you may not have control over it. So common symptoms when grief comes that you're going to feel like this, unexpectedly you can start crying. That has happened to me. You can have sleepless nights, fatigue, trouble focusing because you are thinking, and even physical pain. You may lose interest in things you usually do because you are just overwhelmed by the process or by the loss of. And another thing, you may also feel spiritually far from God, because you are wondering, how is God in heaven and this thing happened to me? You may wrestle with questions like, is there God? Or how come God allowed this kind of thing to happen to me? To manage these things, it is important for you to understand that what is happening to you is not abnormal. It is something that can happen to people or anyone who has lost someone that they really loved. So have this at the back of your mind so that you will not be wondering, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? No, it is not specific to you. It is what happens to anyone who really lost someone they loved. Grief is not something you get over. It's something you learn to live with. And that brings us to, how can you really wake up once you are feeling that overwhelming engrossing by grief? What can you do immediately? You can start writing how you're feeling. You can write it down. Then one memory you miss most about the person, you can just write it down. That will help you. Then write what you are thankful for about the person. Then you write also a prayer thought that you have for the person, so that you will not get your mind deep into that area where you are going to start feeling overwhelmed by the person's loss. Now, stages of grief. You may have heard of the 5 stages of grief, which is what? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. These stages were introduced by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. They are not rigid, but a set of common emotional experiences that people who lose loved ones go through, or people go through when things happen in their life that they feel lost. Then you may move back and forth between these experiences. So it's not when we talk about grief, people can grieve over loss of properties. So it's still part of grieving. So it happens to people when they lose something. So it is an experience that happens to people when they lose something. Grief can come in different forms. So irrespective of whatever it is that you are grieving over, you will go through the 5 stages of grief, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And they are not a rigid part, but a set of common emotional experiences that happen when you're going through loss. Denial is often the mind's way of cushioning the shock of loss. You are in denial. You are wondering, For example, someone may continue setting up a dinner table and a dinner plate for the person they lost, those that lose their spouses. The person may begin to say, oh, it cannot be me that this happens to. Too many things can be happening, and the person is not believing that it will come to be, or it has happened already. So these are the stages of denial. Then that takes us to the stage of what? Anger. Anger may surface when the reality of the loss sets in. It is now getting dawned on you. It's like this thing is true. So this, you might actually feel frustrated. So not you, the person might feel frustrated at doctors, at God, or even their loved ones who had died. They're wondering, why should you die? Why will you die and leave me here? I've had a friend that had to question the husband, why should he die and leave me here with the children? So there are things like that that could happen. Then this emotion, one thing you should understand about anger in the midst of grief is this: the emotion is normal and healthy. It's a sign that you are engaging with the pain, and with time you're going to get over it. And that takes us to the stage of bargaining, because that's when you now begin to bargain your outcoming and what the process or the period you're going through is doing in your life. So bargaining often includes the what ifs. What if God did this? What if God did not do this? What if the doctors did this? What if they didn't do this? What if I did this? Just let me tell you a story. When my father-in-law died, I remember saying, is there something I should have done that I didn't do? That's one. And recently I lost a friend, and in my mind I was like, the day I was chatting with her, I wish I probed her more. I wish I asked questions more. Maybe she would have told me this is what is happening to her, and she would have not died. You can go through different phases. All the what ifs in this world, it comes at the stage of bargaining. Because this my friend was so close to me. In fact, when I heard the news of her death, I would stand in the middle of my kitchen and I would start shedding tears. So that's how bad it was. I knew I was dealing with grief, but because I have knowledge, I was managing it the way I could. Sometimes I will go over to where I wrote about her. I will just read it all over again. I'll ask myself, so this is real. So these were things I was doing, and I was at that stage, I was bargaining to accept that she was gone. So it is at this stage that you get people do all the what ifs and all the if onlys. Because at a point I was saying, why didn't she call me when things were happening? Like, she knew I was a doctor. Why didn't she call me? Why was she in the hospital for this thing and she didn't tell me? So I was going through all those things. And that's what's okay for you to bargain when you're going through grief. So all the what ifs and all the if onlys comes in. So it reflects a longing for things to return to how they were. That's exactly what, because I was wishing my friend didn't die. So that's what happens at the stage of bargaining. You are just wishing that things comes back to the way they were. Then the emotion is actually normal. It's normal. So don't feel like you are doing what is abnormal. Then it is a sign also that, yes, you are moving. You are moving from stage 1, 2, 3. And listen, you see, it can go anywhere. You can even start with bargaining at first, and it can fluctuate. You can get to bargaining, then you go back again. It happens. It is not a straight path to anything. It can just happen anyway. So someone might think, if I had insisted on a second opinion, maybe this wouldn't have happened. In fact, I remember calling my friend's husband and I was like, why? What happened? Did you people go to any other hospital before going to this hospital? Did anything happen to her before that? I was just finding a way I can just get closure. Because at that point, I didn't want to accept this was happening to my own friend that we ate on inside the same plate. I was asking too many questions. At that point, I was just trying to find closure from anything at all. So it can happen to anybody. I've walked that path, so I know what it feels like. Then you can get to the stage of depression. I always say something. What depression does to anyone is to get you to that point where you cannot say a word. It gets you to the point where devil closes your mouth and is now where you accept everything. No. Once you get to that stage of depression, begin to fight, begin to pray against it. If you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, begin to pray against it as well. You know why? Because once devil gets you to that stage where you cannot say anything, it means it's going to bring you down, 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 until you begin to consider things that you on a normal day you shouldn't consider. So this stage of depression is something you really need to understand, that when it's coming to you in a way that he wants you to accept defeat. In the kingdom of God, we do not accept defeat. So you don't accept that defeat that is coming. And it can look like fatigue. It can come as disinterest. You're not interested in anything. And it can come as deep sadness. It will be a deep-rooted sadness. In fact, in my book, Overcoming Depression, there's a place I explained all these things, a chapter in it that I explained everything you need to understand about what depression does once it hits anyone. And you need to read that book. So that is a very important book. Check the description box of this book, of this video. You will see the link to get Overcoming Depression. Then another thing it does is this: it is not a sign of weakness or failure. Depression is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a natural part of processing grief. Natural part of processing grief. But the only thing is what? You should not allow yourself to get to that stage where it overtakes you and subjects you under that thing that the enemy wants to get, which is what? Getting you to that place where you accept all the negativities that life has thrown to you. No, we don't do that here.